Well, continuing the summer tour, if you didn't know, I packed this project up earlier in the summer and decided to go and see where people live, relax, and create. You know, I like to see what makes people tick in their environment. And this time I was down in Morristown, New Jersey, and boy, do we have a good time. But before we get into all that, like normally, I got a couple things I want to throw your way. Who doesn't love a good giveaway, right? Jump over to liverishi.com and doing a little giveaway with some swag and a product. These guys make high-quality CBD product. Easy for me to talk to you guys about it. Been using these products for a long time. Tinctures, love it. Helps you sleep at night, chill out, relax. How about some Rishi Rub? Got some sore muscles, joints? Jump over there, liverishi.com. Use the code word TABLE, and it's going to let them know I sent you, and you're going to get hooked up with a kick-ass discount. Check it out. Now, YouTube. I got a YouTube channel. Would love your support. Jump over there, Walt's Kitchen Table. Under my smiling mug, you're going to see a big red button that says subscribe. Hit that, like and share. Helps the channel out a ton. Going to be putting a lot of more content on there, video content. And with you subscribed, you'll get notification. Check it out and watch it. And then on the platform that you use, you know, iTunes, Stitcher, whatever platform, would love for you to set up a review. You don't have to write anything, I found out. You can just click the stars, 5 stars, of course, and that helps visibility of the channel. And if you really like the channel, you know, tell a friend or 7. So, on to the show. Welcome to Walt's Kitchen Table, where I feature captivating stories from fascinating people. This time around, we got Dr. David Kunick. He lives down in Morristown, and we hit on a handful of subjects. Our passion surrounding sports and finding a good hat. How about an ex-girlfriend stealing a key and showing up at a later date? He was in the hemp and marijuana business for a long time, and we talk about the legalization of marijuana throughout the U.S. That was a great conversation. Boston, and he's from Boston. I give him a lot of shit for that. And then he's dated some pretty interesting people. And then do you know that tips, you know, at a bar or restaurant, you know, you leave a tip for somebody? That's actually an acronym. Do you know that? We're going to find out. Let's get to it. Dude, we're off. We're recording. That's Excellent. What I mean by off. we're on our way.
we're now officially on because we're off to the races.
Yeah, there we go. Hey, going back to a hat. I'm a big hat guy. I love a good hat. And you know as soon as you put a hat on if it's good or bad. You know, like you go to like a hat store and you put it on, and you're like, nah, it don't fit. No, that's not good. And then you put one on, you're like, perfect, I'll take it.
See, I take it a step further. Okay. So after it passes that test, I then look at the embroidery and the stitching to make sure it's lined up perfect. And I am that guy where I literally will try on about 14 different hats. And like, great example, last year I was in down for a Miami Dolphins game. My buddy flew across the pond from London.
Oh, nice.
And
he a Dolphins fan, or was he playing somebody else?
No, he's a huge Dolphins fan.
Oh, okay,
cool. My old one of my old colleagues met him at the very first ever Giants Dolphins game in London, the very first one ever. And
that was when? That was quite a while
2006,
ago.
I believe.
Yeah.
And I've actually been to London now 4 times to see the Dolphins play. And
Jesus.
I stay with him. And we do an annual trip now for the last, I think 9 years now we're at, where nice. he comes across the pond. I fly down to Miami. We meet down there, and we make a whole weekend out of it.
Yeah, of course.
Like I've actually taken him to a Miami Heat game. He wanted to come to New York this upcoming fall. To actually go to his first ever NHL game. He's like, I've seen every other sport.
Might as well do that too, right?
And he's the one that got me tickets for the Yankees-Red Sox game for the first game ever in London last year.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that was awesome.
So are they like huge, like when you're in the stadium, is it like Kansas City and Oakland where it's just completely out of control, or are they pretty calm, the fans?
Well, for the NFL, in London, everyone wears every type of paraphernalia. I mean, like, I went for a Jets-Dolphins game, and there are Saints, Raiders, this and that.
They're just a football fan.
Yeah, and the one thing is that if you want jerseys or any paraphernalia in London, everything is sold out by halftime.
Oh, no shit,
for the
huh?
entire stadium. And going to Wembley is amazing. Like, I encourage anyone to do it. And I went to go see the Raiders play the Dolphins, and we got the VIP package. And people forget, you can bet live right there in the stadium, like, because betting's legal out there. So we're at this VIP treatment. It's a 5-course meal, to the point where they're like, sir, at the end of the first quarter, you're gonna be sitting right there, correct? Yes. Okay, we'll have a drink waiting for you, and you're in between snack between the first and second quarter.
It's like, what the?
Yeah, it was fucking amazing, like amazing. And then live music, and like and the best.
Is it like a box or something? I imagine.
No, it wasn't a box. It was a whole room.
Okay.
It was a whole room, like a picture like a banquet hall. That's part of the VIP package. Is like part of the banquet hall. So where I'm going with the story is the following: is that we end up hanging out with some of the Raider Nation fans, like the people that are, like, you read in ESPN magazine, like in like wearing like the ape suit and all that stuff.
Oh, no shit. No.
And they were sitting right behind us. And after the game, and the Raiders won. It was just, everyone was having a blast. The guy who wore the gorilla suit, he's like, oh, you want to try on my gloves? Go right ahead. And I forget which Raider guy it was, but he's actually a retired cop from Trenton, New Jersey. And he's been featured in ESPN magazine. He's been on Sports Center as like one of those, like, get dressed up. He's like, yeah, like crazy. And then what's really cool is that, because I used to have a business in Las Vegas.
Okay.
I actually am on the list to actually get tickets for the second ever Raiders home game.
Oh, when they go to Vegas.
Yeah. So, but circling back to the hat, because I'm very good at bringing it back and circling back to the story. So don't you worry, Walt. I'm very good at that. I'm very good at
like a comedian.
Yeah.
You got to bring it back around.
So now here we are, and I'm trying on the different hats, and we're now in Miami, and the guy at the store is like, sir, do you have a difficult time? Like, do you not know, like all the hats are the same? I go, no, they're not. I go, look at the stitching. He's like, what do you mean? I go, first rule of a hat, you put it on, either it fits or it doesn't. Plain and simple.
Right.
And I'm like, what we just talked about. He goes, so what's the next part? He goes, the stitching. And he's like, stitching? I go, look, this is not clearly lined up with the crease. See this over here? The M is slightly off right here. And he's like, what? I'm like, yes. I'm like, I want to spend my hard-earned money on a hat. I want the hat to look good on me.
So no OCD there. No,
just it's like, I want to get a return on investment on my hat. Like, what can I say?
That's freaking awesome, dude. So did he like roll his eyes and walk away from you? Or he's like, this guy's a fucking lunatic. I'm gonna leave him alone. Well,
actually, for this in particular story, my buddy from London comes over and he calls me DC. He's like, DC. He's like, what, you can't decide which hat again? Because he's seen it before. And I'm like, man, you know what? I go, I'm down to these two. I just can't figure out which one. I go, this one's a little bit too tight. It was almost a little too loose. He goes like, hold on, put it on. Throw on the first hat. Goes, let me see the second one. Throw on the second one. Goes, first one. I go, why? I goes, because you know what? It was still tight enough against your head that I didn't make your ears pop out. And all of a sudden the guy behind me, because he talking about stitching, he's like, holy shit, what are you two guys doing? I'm like, I want the perfect hat.
No. And the hat that I'm wearing now, it was kind of a long shot for me to get it online, because shout out to my boy Brian down in Missouri. He does this, it's B&C Limited.
Okay.
He does some freaking awesome t-shirts and hats and stuff, and I love the logo. So the logo on this hat, I was like, oh, goddamn, dude, I just got to get it. And it's fitted, right? Mm-hmm. And I got a big noggin. So for me to get a fitted hat.
7 5/8?
No, that's tight.
So, wow.
Big.
Wow.
Yeah. So I took a leap of faith, and just because I like the hat and and support him, right, and the logo, and I got it. I pulled it out of the bag, and I just looked at it, and I'm like, oh, it's a good hat. I like the way it looks. I popped it on. I was like, oh, good. It fits. Been wearing it for years, dude.
What part of Missouri?
Oh, I'd have to look that up.
My older brother used to live in Missouri.
Oh, okay.
And my sister used to work at one of my older sisters, I'm youngest of 4. A lot of people on this podcast don't realize I'm actually the youngest of 4 kids.
Woo!
And there's a 13
Baby, I'm the youngest of 4.
Yeah,
or 5. We had 5. I'm the youngest of 5. But go ahead.
All right. There's what's the difference, age difference between? Mine's 13 and a half years between me and the oldest.
So my oldest brother is like 72 and I'm 43.
Wow. Okay. You definitely got me beat. You got me beat.
I have a niece that's 1 year younger than I am.
Okay, never mind. I'm gonna go crawl up in the corner now. Moving on. So anyway, fun fact, by the way, interesting.
Yeah, isn't that crazy?
Yeah, I'd say because one of my sisters is now she actually got a promotion. She's the #1 forensic psychologist for the entire federal prison system.
Where's she out of?
North Carolina now, but she was at Springfield, Missouri for a little bit, which is the original federal prison where Gotti was.
No shit.
Yeah,
that's
I can't say anything more about that.
Yeah.
Let's just say that it's interesting because I know we're going to my background, but me being involved in the cannabis sector for 10 years now,
right.
and my sister working for the federal government, and she's the expert witness for the government for the prosecution. And
interesting Thanksgiving dinner conversation.
Oh yeah, it definitely is. And what's really interesting is that so my family, as my dad says, like when a Kunick fucks up, we fuck up royally. And we kind of really get involved in some unique situations. Like my older sister Anne Mary was volunteering during the Atlanta Olympics during the bombing.
Oh, okay.
Then also during the Boston bombing at the Boston Marathon, my sister actually volunteered for the last 7 years at the finish line. And then that year of the bombing, she actually got transferred to the starting line. So she actually been right there.
Oh.
My other sister Tanya has been on 60 Minutes during the Oklahoma City bombing when she was getting her master's for psychology. I've had my little interesting run of different things, of interviews and this and that. So it's interesting when, in the grand scheme of things, like when people talk about different life situations, I'm like, oh yeah, I've talked about that. Like federal prisons, I'm like, yeah, I've actually given a tour of many prisons, and maybe you'll forget that the cleanest, one of the safest prisons in all of America is right here in Morris County, actually.
Right? I didn't.
Yeah, the Morris County Prison right here in Morristown is actually voted one of the safest prisons in all of America.
Yeah, well, look at the criminals that go there. That's probably why, right?
Well, I will say what's interesting was when I was doing the Morris leadership program through the Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
And they were doing the tour, and I knew one of the guardsmen through another buddy of mine. It's his brother-in-law, and he's like, hey, he goes, Kunick. He goes, how does that last name sound familiar? I'm like, well, there's another Dr. Kunick. It's Dr. Tanya Kunick, forensic psychologist for the prison system. She's like, out of where? I'm like, out of Buckner. And they're like, wait, the Dr. Kunick? I'm like, yeah, it's my older sister. Oh, come with me, sir. Here, let me give you a little private tour of the prison. I'm like, listen, I've seen real life Shanks. I've toured many prisons. It's intense.
Yeah, that's not a place. That's not a place you want to hang out.
No, not
that's
at all.
That's not a place you want to be. Unfortunately, I've been there, but that's a whole.
So I want to sidebar us now. Okay,
not in Morristown, but
I'm going to sidebar us now because I'm a little excited, Walt, because this is a meeting in the making for a while. Okay.
Yep, for sure.
And one thing about my personality that I learned from my mom is, if you mention something to someone for a Christmas gift, and let's say it's January, like, oh, maybe I love this for Christmas next year. My mom will remember that stuff 11 months in advance.
You're like, where's my gift?
Well, sometimes you're like, when you get the gift, you're like, wait, what is this? Well, one time you said,
yeah.
So anyway, one thing I kind of do and just the way my personality is that if I find something that makes me think of someone else, I'll pick up a little gift or trinket just for no reason. Like, hey, this is for you. I saw this. I thought of you.
Cool.
And that's just something that I do.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about prisons, and I've seen a lot of the yards of prisons, and part of prisons is working out and lifting. And I know you really like working out and lifting.
Yeah, yep.
All right. So I saw this online. I thought of you. And it's a little trinket, so I was like, you know what? I was like,
what do we got?
So you got two gifts today, and the second one has something else to do with your life that I thought of at a conference that I picked up for you.
At a conference,
yeah.
Okay.
So
let's stick to this one.
But for this one, because I know how much you like working out.
Yep.
I saw this. Actually saw it online. I thought of you right away, and some of your podcasts, and I was like, you know what? I think something that Walt would like. So I'm gonna let you open that up.
Oh shit! Check this out. All right, so. In a little bag, looks like what, a necklace?
Yeah. Let me this way. It's not something you have to wear. It's just more of, hey.
Oh, check this out. Hold on. What's it saying? What's it saying there?
So for the listeners, it's a barbell. Or actually, it's a plate. It's a plate. Sorry, my bad.
How big a plate? Hold on. That's important. Does it say on there? No.
This little inspirational messages.
Oh, I can't read that. What does it say?
Let me read it for you.
Yeah. Yeah, read that. All right, sorry, man, I can't read that.
No problem. So, first thing is, hold on.
Yeah, they're written.
Live fit, stay toned. When you feel like quitting. So that's why, actually, that's a message I saw on it where I thought of you. When you feel like quitting.
Just keep going, man.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah, exactly. And then think about why you started.
Oh, see, that's a
So I saw those two on that, and at the barbell, I'm like, it's small and cheesy,
awesome,
but I'm
dude.
like,
Thanks,
I thought of you, and like when you post stuff about your workouts, and I get it as someone who's had a bunch of surgeries. Like if I don't work out, exactly.
Thanks, brother.
So I saw that, and you're always hitting the plates, and like I said, I saw
love
that. And so those two sayings on it, I'm like, don't forget why you started, and
the don't forget why you started. Keeps me going a lot.
Yeah.
Because I'll be like, I'm not going to do this. I don't feel like doing this today. Dude, why are you going to stop now? You've been doing it here, and why'd you start? Oh, that's why. And you keep going, right? Mm-hmm. And the other big thing, too, is just start.
Yeah.
Just go. Just start.
Yeah.
You don't have to do some monster workout every time. Stick to working out, the theme. You don't have to do some monster workout. Do a few push-ups. Jump rope a little bit. That's it. And if that was a 20-minute workout, great. Next.
Yeah. I still go to a gym in Rockaway, New Jersey that I've been going to since I was like 16, 17 years old, few owners. People are like, yeah, but like, why do you drive 25 minutes to a gym when you have like a gym in your apartment building? You have a gym, you have like literally where I live here in Morristown, like you have so many gyms to choose from. Why do you drive 25 minutes? I'm like, one, because it lets me get in the car and actually just focus and relax. Two, I'm going to go in there for so long that I can just go there and just be me. No one's going to say, hey, Dr. David, I have a question about my shoulder. Or Dr. David, I have a question about my knee. Or,
right.
Hey, I got a question about cannabis. I can just go in there, do my workout, this and that. But what's interesting, you talk about just start, don't, just be proactive and start. Where one thing I've always done is each time I see like a teenager, especially now I see a lot more obesity, and I give a lot of credit to these teenagers who just trying, hey, you know what, you're just being proactive. You can only do 5 minutes on the treadmill. And I'll see some of these kids walking around, I'm like, hey man, I'm like, keep up the great work, man. They're like, what? Huh? I'm like, yeah, man. I'm like, I saw you on the workout. Keep up. Good job, man.
Yeah.
The small little words.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's something where, it's interesting because people forget I wasn't allowed to have Instagram until about 2 years ago. And so I was.
If you could see my face.
Yeah. So not to date my age or anything now. And but
you say your mom said you couldn't have it till 2 years ago.
Well, so the irony is that I like, for my background and people listening, I used to be the CEO of a publicly traded company. Okay. And when you're the CEO of a publicly traded company, you pretty much, if you say anything wrong on the internet,
there goes 6 points.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so from there, I was CEO before Instagram came out. And people forget that. Instagram didn't come out until about 2012.
Yeah, I never knew when that came out.
Yeah, so what's interesting is that when I was never allowed on Instagram, I was able to do very little on Facebook. And then after I left that company and stepped down being CEO of a public traded company in August of 2017, I had to wait 6 more months just for like...
Was that like a...
Not like non-disclosure, confidentiality, like the lawyers are just like, hey, it's an amicable split. But hey, do it like that. So
keep your mouth shut for 6 months.
Yeah, pretty much, yeah. And so like, what's interesting is that like now I'm doing more stuff on like social media, and I was never allowed to before.
Yeah.
And some people are like, man, like you're not really that much of an asshole. Like you're actually like a pretty decent guy. I'm like, listen, because online people only saw the business side of me. I could never post anything personal.
Right.
And circling back to the gym and talking to like, hey, a kid just trying, saying, hey, keep up the good work. And where I'm going with this point is that, what's interesting is that I'm a very positive person. I've been through a lot of shitty situations. I always say rise above it,
Yep.
And with that, it's just like, hey, it's interesting to see in the last year and a half, people like, hey, this random people reach out like, hey, appreciate your positive words. And I'm like, what are you talking about? I'm like, I'm just being me. And so, but what's really interesting also too, and I'm kind of rambling right now, and my apologies, is that being blessed to have done business in all different parts of the country, and being blessed to have do business with a lot of people internationally. Everyone does business differently. But with people doing business differently, it's also to see how people's attitudes change.
Oh, absolutely.
And one thing I think is really interesting in this tri-state area of New York, New Jersey, is that we don't give enough people credit. We don't support one another enough.
Oh God, no.
And
There's more me than we.
Yeah. Exactly.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
and that's why I was circling back. And with something I tell people at the gym, because I'm just like, did you know that kid or did you know that person? What'd you say to them? I'm like, I just said, keep up the good work. Like, hey man, like I'm that guy. I have no problem giving another guy a compliment.
No.
Like, hey man, I like that shirt. Hey man, you're looking good. Like,
Yep.
my one buddy Al, he got ripped, and I'm like, Al, bro, I'm going to tag you in a post. I'm going to literally show off your 6-pack. I'm like, dude, you sat here, you sacrificed, you did everything. He's like, dude, like, we got a man crush on me. I'm like, no, buddy. I'm I'm proud of you, man. You know, come on.
And I'm gonna Photoshop my face on your head because your fucking abs. But going back to that. It took me a long time to be able to accept a compliment.
Okay.
Right? And like to pull things in. Like maybe short enough as 3 years ago, if somebody gave me a gift like this, I'd be like, yeah, thanks, man. And then moved on. You know, I would have never brought it in, like truly accepted it and everything like that, you know? And then the same thing if somebody gave me a compliment, I'd blow right over it. And my wife would be like, you know, they just gave you a compliment. I'm like, no, they didn't. No. She's like, what? You didn't hear them? They just gave you a compliment. I'm like, no, they didn't. But nowadays, I bring it in. Because you giving me a gift or a compliment, if I actually hear it and bring it in, it's giving that back to you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And really accepting it, right? So a fun gym story, and I think I've said it before, was I was just in the gym doing my thing. And his name was Al, I found out later. This guy came up to me, I'm between sets, and if you don't, a lot of people know me in the gym, I'm not approachable in the gym. When I'm working out, it just, you're like...
You're one of those types, and I get it.
Yeah, they're like, you know...
It's like, you give it, if you even get a head nod, we're lucky from you, right?
Yeah.
Like...
If you walk by me and give me a little head nod, I might give you one back, but don't talk to me, man. I'm in here for a reason. So he comes up to me between sets. You know, I'm sitting there breathing heavy, just kind of hanging out. And he goes, hey, man, I got to let you know you're the reason I'm here. I was like, excuse me? Who the fuck is this guy coming up to me, you know? And he goes, I was sitting in my house. I had 45 minutes. And he goes, should I go to the gym or not? And he goes, you popped in my mind. And I was like, okay, you can explain. He goes, wonder what that big guy at the gym would say if I said, hey, man, I got 45 minutes. Do I go to the gym or not? And I looked right at him. I go, fuck yeah, you go to the gym. He goes, that's why I'm here. Thanks, dude. And I was like, okay. And I shook his hand and I said, I'm going to go because obviously you don't have much time, so we'll catch up later. And then, later, future dates, we'd sit and hang out and talk for a few minutes.
Yeah.
But, that's when it really started to sink in. And, you have people tell you that you inspired them or, hey, I saw what you're doing and inspired me to do this. Going back to what you said, I'm just being me, dude. I'm not looking out to do anything else. I'm just doing me. I'm doing what I do. I'm doing what I love to do. And great, man, if that inspires somebody, I'll take it all day long. But a couple years ago, I'd have been, fuck you, dude, whatever. You do you, I'll do to me. But my attitude's drastically changed since then. So
now with your attitude changing, do you think that's also helped you more also emotionally and physically with the mindset change?
100%.
Nice, man.
100%.
That's awesome.
And where that kind of started moving a little bit, and it's cliche and you hear people talk about it all the time. People use different things. But when I was paralyzed, and I have a story about it. You ever hear of the podcast The Moth?
I have, but haven't really listened to it.
Okay,
much.
So The Moth, Joe Rogan, and Andy Frisella are probably the biggest.
Isn't Andy Frisella the 75 Hard guy?
Yeah.
Yeah. So my buddy Chef Eric Levine does that program. He's on phase 3.
I've done it twice.
Okay.
I do it once a year.
Nice. Do you know Chef Eric? Are you guys connected?
No.
I should let you guys because he posts stuff all day, and it was just he's actually just even posted about Andy's birthday recently.
Yeah, I saw a post about.
Yeah. But sorry, continue.
Yeah. That's those 3 things are the inspiration. The inspiration outside of my life, my personal life, for this podcast project, right? And shit, now I fucking going around and I forgot what I was talking about.
You're talking about The Moth, Joe Rogan.
So
and Andy,
okay, so The Moth is storytelling. You get up in front of people and for 5 minutes you tell a true story, right? And I love telling stories. I love hearing stories. I love telling stories because stories are all over the place. You learn about people. You can take information that storytelling is a passageway to get lack of knowledge to a deep understanding. Does that make sense?
It does.
Right? So if I trying to convey information to you, if I tell you a story about that, and you could even go back to when man first became man and they're sitting around a campfire and everybody's happy because they got a kill for the day and everybody's eating. Well, that's camaraderie, right? And that's where the kitchen table is now. When we look where we're sitting.
Yeah.
We're not sitting in your living room or on a balcony
No.
or anything like that. We're in the damn kitchen.
Yep.
Right? I didn't even think of that till I just looked around.
Well,
But that's where everybody congregates, right? And that's why I call it the table. But going back, I told a story about that's what a man does. I've done a couple story slams, and I have a story that I wrote out about my back injury. And I'll record it and post it because on my YouTube channel, I have these full episodes that are like, 90 minutes long and stuff. But then I have smaller clips just for content, right? And I have it recorded and I'll post it. And what it talks about, I talk about is growing up, and as you're quote unquote being a man, you say, why do you do that? And I'm going to just bullet points, right? Why do we do that? Well, because that's what a man does. That's right. If you grew up, I don't know if you grew up in that culture. I did.
Let me ask you this. What area of the country did you grow up in?
I was upstate New York.
Okay.
Farm country,
Yep.
Hillbillies, good old boys, all that, So loved it. I have if somebody says, would you change anything about growing up? Not a fucking thing. Loved it. My parents are awesome.
The only reason I asked you that question is, and you having siblings of multiple generations.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's very rare. I even have an opportunity to talk to someone like yourself who has a sibling that's over a decade older, because that's a big difference, and people don't realize that. And the reason why I bring that up is that depending what part of the country you grew up in, and what decade you grew up in,
sure,
about the whole the man thing. So I fully get where you're coming from on that. So yeah.
So then, the story of my back, forever my back hurt. I'd get back pain, lifting, working out, didn't matter, right? And all you do is you put Tylenol, you have some Tylenol, you might put a little heat on it, and you stay off it because that's what a man does, right? I mean, that's kind of the story that I told. And but circling back, when I was laying in the hospital, can't move my legs. I'm sitting here rubbing my legs, can't feel them. Wonder if I'll ever walk again, right? Cried myself to sleep multiple nights. My surgery was on a Friday. My wife came in Thursday night. She was running late because back then everybody we knew was networking till late and had meetings till late and all that bullshit, right? So she came in. I completely fucking lost it, dude. Totally broke down, was a fucking total mess the day before my surgery. Physically walked out of the hospital on Saturday. My neurosurgeon, miracle worker, dude. My doctor told me there's God, there's neurosurgeon, and there's nurses. He says that's the thing. But
what's that movie with Nicole Kidman and Alec Baldwin? Was it Malice?
Oh, I don't know that.
From like the 90s, and Bill Pullman's in it. And during the movie, they said it's a great scene. It's phenomenal. You got to YouTube this when he's like, it says here, Dr. Bubba, that you have a godlike complex.
He said, yep.
And he goes, let me tell you something. when your wife is on the table in the surgery and I'm operating on her.
I do know that one.
And you're out there praying to God that, that she's kept alive. Are you praying to God or are you praying to me? Because let me tell you something. You asked me if I have a God complex. I am God.
Oh, I could totally see Alec Baldwin doing that too.
Yeah,
especially like, back in the 90s.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
But that's when I really started having a true appreciation of compliments, living in the moment, just looking right in front of me. And the phrase that I use is an arm's length, right? And we'll go because you're fuck at hats. This will be a good branch into it. Is if it's outside of arm's reach, 0 fucks given for me. And what that means, people will say, you can't have a 0 fucks attitude because you got to have all, you should care about this, that, and the other, right? When I say 0 fucks given, I don't mean I don't give a shit about anything, right? I do. But I care about the things that I can control. So the example that I use is when somebody says, hey, do you know what Betty in accounting is doing? I don't give a shit what Betty in accounting is doing. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So that's where the 0 fucks come in. But, yeah. No, we put this in the attitude, dude. Or we put this in the thing. So we got to take a break just for a second. Be right back. So, okay, now we're back. And off air, we were talking about 80-20 rule. So now we're back at that. And then Dave's going to follow up with
the 10-80-10 rule for dating, which I learned from a minister. Amazing piece of dating advice.
80-10?
10-80-10.
Oh, shit. All right.
So you go first. I want to hear about this 80-20 thing, man.
So I live my life a lot by 80-20.
Okay.
Let me use my job and everybody's job for an example. If you tell me you love your job 100% of the time, you're full of shit. I can guarantee you that. I don't care what you're doing. You don't love your job 100% of the time. And I'll talk to anybody about that. Okay?
I concur.
Yeah.
In the words of Leonardo DiCaprio in Catch Me If You Can, I concur. I should have concurred. Anyway, keep going.
Dude, we can quote movie nights. I love quote movies. 80% of the time, I absolutely love my job. Love it. Even this podcast project. 80% of the time, love it. 20% of the time, I'm doing everything possible to get that completed, what I'm doing, because I don't like it. Or it's not my favorite thing to do. So that means I'm doing it pretty efficiently because I want to get it done quickly to get back to the 80%. So 80% of the time, love it. 20% of the time, I'm working efficiently as possible to get back to the 80%. Okay?
I got a question for you about that, though.
Yeah.
Because for that 20%, then do you try to outsource it at all?
Not yet. I'm not big enough. Not big enough.
Okay.
Eventually, I'm
not going to lie, for myself, for that 20%, if I have the ability to outsource it,
sure,
I try to. If I can't, then I'll do it.
Yeah. But the thing is, though, like any startup or any small thing, you got to do it right.
Exactly.
And then using that for diet, 80% of the time, I'm eating something right out of a dietitian book, like crazy clean, awesome. The other 20% of the time, we just don't talk about. So, but the thing is, and going back to what we were talking about, portions, right?
Yeah,
portion control.
Everything was
and
moderation.
Moderation,
Exactly.
right? Even the 80% of the time is moderation. Mm-hmm. I might just be loving what I'm eating. I'm good. Just have control enough to be like, no, I'm good. One, it's satisfying. I'm not sitting there like at Thanksgiving where you're loosening your belt. Two, I have more left over for tomorrow.
Yep.
Right? And then working out, same thing. 80% of the time, just fucking crushing it. The 20%, I get a couple hundred push-ups in and jump rope a little bit. I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah,
but I did it.
And we were talking before about movement. And it's interesting, me having 3 reconstructive knee surgeries on my left knee, had surgery on my right knee, reconstructive hand surgery. I'm not only a physical therapist, I'm also a patient. Ha 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 ha. Yeah. But days it's hey, you know what? I don't feel like doing anything, but I just got to do like at least 15
something.
minutes, just something.
Just something.
Like, and like we're here right now, and if you look behind me, you see the purple board, the
Yeah.
Fit board from Shark Tank.
Oh, no shit,
Yeah,
huh?
dude,
I thought that's what that was.
Totally worth the $25, my friend. And literally, I've turned more people onto that Fit board. They go, why? I'm like, if you're at your home office and you're on a conference call, you just need to do a little something, get on the board for 2 or 3 minutes, just shake it, do it. And people are like, you're kidding me. I'm like, no. Because
Try it,
even if it's
huh?
a little something.
Just something.
It's just a little
Right.
something.
Just
And like,
something.
no matter what, even just go for a walk, you know, it's just
Absolutely.
do a little something, because you're talking about 80-20. One thing I was taught from my father, an old school guy from Worcester, Massachusetts, with a thick Pochtecan Harvard Yard accent, and my mom's from Brockton, Massachusetts. And quick side note, my grandmother, my mom's side, or my mom's mom, used to own her own restaurant in Brockton, Mass, and she actually used to serve. Oh God, I'm having a brain fart right now. Rocky Marciano. And also Ted Yastrzemski from the Red Sox from back in the day.
Oh, no shit.
And,
What kind of restaurant?
just a diner, small little cafe.
okay.
And random side note, when I had my physical therapy clinics, every so often when I had someone who like went to Boston College or Boston University in the 80s, and I'm like, oh, my mom's from Brockton, Mass. You know, like my grandma used to own Mary's Cafe. They're like, wait, we used to go there actually back in the 80s.
Oh, that's
like,
fun.
like, how
That's
cool
fun.
is that? But where I'm going with this is that I was always taught from my parents, and I mean, they picture like the typical strict Boston, like no shit, like, hey, like when you fuck up royally type of deal.
Yeah.
That you always have a choice in life. You might not like your choice, but
There's
you
a choice.
always have a choice.
Yeah, absolutely.
And going back to what we said about 80-20 and also movement, you always have a choice. You know, either you're gonna choose to do a little something, or you're gonna choose to do nothing.
Yeah,
and at the end of the day,
absolutely.
you gotta live your own consequences on that.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And where I learned the movement thing, of course, I always, you know, my history with working out and all that kind of thing. I knew that it's movement. Just fucking move. As humans, we're built to move. We're built to pick things up, put things over our head, carry things, walk. You know, that's what we're built to do. And you can't deny hundreds of thousands of years of evolution.
Yeah.
Right?
Mhm.
I mean, that's what we're built to do. And I came out of my back surgery at like 5:30 at night, and I had the best fucking trip of my life, dude. I was still kind of all jacked up on the drugs, right? And they wheeled me in, and my wife was there with one of her girlfriends, and I remember seeing her, right? I remember seeing her, and then I fade back away, and all I remember is, you know those little or the vanilla Oreos?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Those spinning, and then you know the sad face and the mask, the happy and sad, like for the theater.
Yep.
Those talking to me. That's all I can remember of it. But it was just a fucking great trip. And I get out, I wake up, and my wife was like, "You were smiling and laughing and having a good time." I was like, "That was amazing. I need to do that again."
So have you had a lot of surgeries at all? Like, have you been under anesthesia a lot or no?
Yeah.
Okay, so I have too.
Yeah, yeah.
And one of the funniest stories I'm told about anesthesia is it was for my second reconstructive knee surgery on my left knee. And me and my buddy Mike Cortez, he was a big Bruce fan. You know, we love the song "Glory Days." You know,
Okay,
singing at the top of
okay.
our lungs. And you know, they play music in the surgery.
Yeah, sure.
And they already injected me, you know, with anesthesia, but I wasn't asleep yet. And next
start
thing,
singing?
well, I wake up and they're like, Mr. Bruce Springsteen, how you feeling now? And I'm like, what are you talking about? They're like, Glory Days came on, and out of nowhere, you started screaming at the top of your lungs the entire song. I'm like, what? They're like, yeah, you weren't knocked out yet. We had to give you more. And they're
That
like,
was-
and I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? Like, no, like we actually had to stop because you were literally yelling every word to the song to the point we all just started laughing because like we couldn't even do anything.
Yeah, that's
And I was
awesome,
like-
dude. That's awesome.
Yeah, and also too, I've had enough anesthesia where I wake up and I'm not gonna lie, it's some of the best sleep. Where the
it's
night before
amazing.
surgery, I don't only sleep for a couple of hours, so I know I'm gonna get great sleep.
Oh, yeah.
And then I wake up, I'm like, yes, I have all my limbs. The nurses come running over. That's not very funny. Don't joke about that.
Hey, man, hey, mark my arm, dude, so you don't chop it off, right?
And so, but yeah, I mean, we definitely have good stories like that. And when you were talking about earlier about life is about stories,
Yeah, yeah.
and the way I always learn is through stories. And life and one of my business mentors is like, life is not about, for birthdays, it's not about gifts, it's about experiences. And you have a story in your life.
100%.
And my friends joke around with me to like, you're the only guy we know that has done so much, because, between being a physical therapist, former CEO of a public traded company, so you have that down. And then also too, you've been involved in cannabis for over 10 years. You've done a lot of cool shit in a lot of different sectors. And like, you always have a story about something. Like, you're the only guy we know. We can give you a word and you got a story.
Sure. I mean, that's how knowledge is passed around, dude. I love it.
So literally we're at a bar and my friends are making fun of me about this. The bartender overhears us. He goes, really? You have a story for everything? And I'm like, no, I don't. My friend's like, yeah, you do. Don't be modest. And I'm like, no. He goes, all right. He goes, I'll make you a deal. I'm like, all right, what's the deal? He goes, I'm going to give you one word and you have to tell me a story of real life about that one word. And I'm like, and he goes, and then my buddy goes, okay, let's negotiate this. What are we doing here? Like, we get 30 seconds, 60 seconds. I'm like, JD, bro. I'm like, really?
You put me on the spot?
And he goes, I'll give you 30 seconds after I say the word to tell me, if you have it. And I'm like, what are you? He goes, I get you a drink. I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm here with 3 of my buddies. You're going to buy us 2 rounds of drinks.
Yeah.
He's like, well, what if you lose? I'm like, my buddy takes out a $50 bill, goes, he'll give you $50. And I'm like, geez Louise, buddy.
No pressure.
Yeah. So, but here comes the best part. The best part is,
your Boston accent came out right there, dude.
Well, dude, I still say hot dog and I still say hot dog and popcorn. And people like down here in Jersey, like, why I say popcorn? And then I'm like, my mom's like, yeah, it's a popcorn, Yeah. And I'm like, oh, it's not.
Well,
pop.
do you say soda or pop?
I say soda, but I do call it a grinder.
Oh, Jesus. You're going way. Oh, wow. Grinder.
Wow. Instead of a hoagie or a sub. And I do call it a bubbler instead of a Warren Fountain at times.
Yeah.
But what's really, really fucked up is that my New Jersey accent is I say water. Like, yeah. Instead
water.
of like water. Like a thick New York. And like when and I'm in New England all the time. I'm like, yeah, can I get a glass of water? They're like, yeah, what would you like to order? I'm like, water. They're like, yeah, what do you want to order? I'm like, hold on. I'm like,
water. Can I write that down for you?
Yeah, but we sit really fast and like they bust my chops. That and coffee. Like that.
Yeah.
But
do you say, wait a minute, real quick, you say crick or creek?
Probably creek.
Creek?
Yeah. Like, well, a creek, like a river creek or like a creek?
Yeah, like what's outside right over here. It's a creek, right? Or is it a creek?
It's a creek.
It's not a creek.
Yeah. And then let me say, upstate New York, do you call it a cabin or a camp?
Ooh.
You know what I'm talking about? Okay.
Camp.
Yeah.
Camp.
So that was new. Like when I was living in Maine.
I was like, wait a minute. No,
when I was living in Maine, I'm like, no, you have a cabin. No, it's a camp. And I'm like, no, it's a cabin and you own on land. They're like, no, it's a camp.
Yeah, that's a hard one. That's a hard one. That's camp. Camp.
So anyway, circling back, we're at the bar and we got the parameters, $50 we got to give. But everybody's like, hey, you're paying me back $50 if you lose. I'm like, thanks, asshole. Thanks for volunteering me. 2 rounds of drinks, which we're going to do a shot and then a beer with. And I got 30 seconds. And the bartender goes, you ready? I'm like, yeah, sure. I'm like, just tell me the word. He goes, spot. I start laughing hysterically. Bartender's like, what's so funny? I'm like, really? That's your word?
What?
Spot? I'm like, that's one of the easiest stories in the world. I'm like, did you play the spot game for an icebreaker at work or anything like that? He's like, the spot game? I'm like, yeah, what you do is this. Let's say there's 10 people, you have 9 spots. One guy goes in the middle and goes, I got mail for anyone that likes to work out. And then you have to go to a different spot. And whoever doesn't move is left over. Boom, now goes back in the middle. And then, it's a spot game. I go, hey, I have mail for anyone who likes the New York Giants. So you get to learn about each other, and you go to a different spot, and whoever's left over goes in the middle.
Oh, I see. Yeah,
so I'm like, it's the spot game. The bartender just went,
motherfucker.
Yeah, literally, he just went, dude, that took you not even 10 seconds. I'm like, you want a second chance? He's like, no. he's like, you got 2 rounds. Man. He's like, what do you guys want? And my buddy's like, yes, I knew you had this.
So similar, kind of similar, bartending back in the day, and because you're in that environment, your game is tight.
Yeah.
Right? And I was a fucking king of one-liners. And, people call them Waltisms and shit right nowadays, And a bunch of ladies there, we're bullshitting and doing this, and they're throwing things at me, and I'm throwing one-liners at them, and I'm like, yeah, dude, I got whatever you're throwing at me. I got a one-liner and this, that, the other. And I said something about a tip,
Yep.
Drinks, and I was like, is that the tip? And she's like, you selfish son of a bitch. I don't want tip. I want the whole thing. And I was like, No, she's like, I stumped you with that? And I was like, yeah, I ain't got nothing on that one. I said, I could throw you something, but it's not worth, it's not a good one.
So let me ask you this question. Do
throw
you
you
know,
something. No pun
do you
intended. See,
know
throws you something. Anyway.
what TIPS stands for, actually, by the way?
Oh, is that an acronym?
Yes, it is. I learned from my grandmother who owned her own restaurant.
Yes. Oh, this is good.
Oh,
okay.
yes. This is a money one, which
Wait.
I use all the time.
Oh, so this is good in,
This is
in
real
trivia
life.
night, right?
TIPS, TIPS.
Okay.
Which is what we give at restaurants, this and that, actually stands to ensure proper service.
Get the fuck out of
I
here.
kid you not. My grandmother lived till she was 96 years old. She worked till she was 92. And God bless her, she'd still have her tip card for percentage. And my mom still will do this to this day. If we have a bad service, we'll write on the back of a check how to be a better server. I shit you not.
So
Yeah.
to ensure proper service.
Yep. And literally, what my grandma always taught me was, you know what? You should be treated like the king or queen that you are in a restaurant if you're going to get
Absolutely.
service.
100%.
And if you want to be super nice, start off at 25% and then work your way down.
So start at 25%.
If you want
Start
to.
like subtract them.
Yeah, subtract it. Yeah.
Ah!
And literally, like I'll never forget, like when I was, and I paid more attention when I was a teenager. Sometimes, like they'll come over and they'll be like, "Ma'am, like, is there a problem with something? You only tipped 5%." And my grandma would be like, "Well, yes, the coffee was lukewarm.
Chick.
You, for water, we're not drinking water, and I'm drinking coffee, and we couldn't get enough water here inside for our meal. You're asking us how our meal is before our glass is empty. What do you want us to eat this fresh meal with nothing to wash it down with?" I'm like,
Holy shit.
Oh yeah.
So I've never had a waiter or wait staff of any kind or bartender, anything, say, you only tip this much. Is there an issue? I've never had that.
That has happened because of my family, especially my mom and my grandmother being as tough they are about it.
Oh, okay.
At least
All right.
20, 30 times minimum.
No shit.
Oh,
See, I've
yeah.
never had that.
And even to the point where I've even been taught like the proper rules with bottles of wine. Like people are like, hey, like how much you tip for drinks and this and that. And the general rule of thumb is, and I actually learned this in an etiquette class, is if you're only getting a couple of drinks, it's just $1 per drink you add for the tip.
Well, yeah, but that's why beer is priced at like 4 1/4 or 3 1/4.
Well, true.
So you
but
get a $5 bill and you're like, yeah, keep it.
Yeah, and then but if you're going for dinner and drinks, like how do you add it up? And then also too for bottles of wine, if the bottle of wine is less than $50, you actually tip on the entire bottle of wine. If it's more than $50, then you don't tip on it. How's that for a fun little rule of etiquette?
Wait, back that up. Back that up.
If you're at a restaurant, okay,
Yep.
and you're ordering a bottle of wine,
And it's
like $45.
Okay.
You would actually tip on the percentage on the entire bottle of wine.
So it'd be a $90.
Well, no. So no. So like let's say your meal is $100, and $45 of that was a bottle of wine.
So the tip is $45.
No, the tip would be based off $100. That's what I'm saying.
I see. Okay. Yep.
And now, but let's say you order a $100 bottle of wine, and you got $100 of food, and your bill's $200. You don't tip on the full $200 of the bill. You'd actually tip on the $100 of the food.
Yep.
And then you should give like $5-6 on the $100 bottle of wine.
No shit. Did
Yeah.
you learn that in an etiquette class?
Yep. Oh yeah.
No shit.
Because the other thing is too, because I do investor relations work now, and I'm entertaining clients of all different types.
Right. So you gotta know that
internationally.
shit, right?
So and also different cultures. So there's a lot of different etiquette.
Yeah.
And it's just, this is where, because I'll never forget, here's a great example. All right. We're talking about wine. And this is one of my favorite wine stories of all time. Like literally. And Andreas was fucking amazing what this guy did. So. True story. Vegas. Meeting with investors. Andreas and his wife. All right. And I forget his wife's name.
Wait a minute. Oh, Andreas is who?
All right. So Andreas and his wife, let's just call her Barbara. Okay. Andreas and Barbara. Andreas is from Germany. Barbara's from Canada. They're millionaires, if not billionaires, where what they do is they take all their clothes and all their stuff, send it to a hotel suite or penthouse for a month or 2 months, and they move every two months or so, penthouse to penthouse. They're very successful. All right.
Whew, okay.
And Andreas and Barbara, they're very well cultured. Okay.
I would imagine being in that.
And this is maybe let's see, this is circa 2011 to 2013, I'll say, okay? And we're trying to get them to be investors for one of my companies. And they're through another investor of my friend that got introduced, and we're in Vegas. Next thing you know, Andreas orders literally a $1,400 bottle of wine.
Ugh.
And I'm like, shit, I'm like, we're not tipping this whole thing. And my buddy, he's like, no. Like, and thank God I love it, the etiquette class. But anyway, the point of this story is that Andreas comes and, they decant the wine. He takes a sip, a small sip, he goes, bah, ah. He goes, bring out the thermometer right now. Bring out the thermometer. He goes, this is about 2 degrees too warm. Don't you know how to sit here and serve a proper bottle of wine this expensive? I'm like, oh shit, it's gonna be a really, really rough dinner. Oh my God. God.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, you gotta be kidding me. I'm like 2 degrees. Are you like fucking kidding me right now? We're talking about 2 fucking degrees.
Yeah, right?
They come out, bring out the thermometer. It's exactly 2 degrees too warm, which is pretty fucking impressive.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, Jesus Christ, dude.
So then and Andreas, we're going through stuff and like they're talking about where they've all been. And I'm like, why we pick this place at the Wynn Casino? He's like, this is the best sorbet in the world. David, this sorbet, you have to have it. And this sorbet, it's like literally picture 2 quarters, and that's how much of a scoop of one sorbet you got. It was $50 for that. $50 that little piece of sorbet. I'm still happy I didn't have to pay for this dinner because it was very expensive. So now I'm like, Andreas, I'm like, what do you mean this is the best sorbet in the world? And he's like, David, I've been all over the world. This is the best sorbet in the world. That's why we come here. When I come to Las Vegas, we eat at this place here at the Wynn Casino because it's the best sorbet in the world. And I'm like, okay. I'm like, and I start laughing. And Barbara's like, what's so funny? I'm like, well, Barbara, I don't want to be rude here. I'm like, I'm a young guy. I'm like, I use a figure of speech like, oh, this is the best in the world. But like, Andreas, when you say, I'm like, you literally mean this is even all over the world. He's like, what? I told you this is the best sorbet in the world. This is why we're here. And I'm like, I start laughing. His wife starts laughing. He's like, I don't get it. Why is people laughing? And I'm like, Andreas, I'm like, you literally is like, yes, we are here for the best sorbet in the world. And I'm like, dude, yeah, but Andreas, I'm like, dude, I'm like, Andreas, I'm like, I know, but for me, I've never done. So the whole table starts laughing hysterically. He just couldn't get it.
He just kept going.
Yeah. So, but I do have a question for you before I forget.
Yeah, and we gotta go back to the 10-80-10.
Oh, don't worry. This is why I take down notes.
Okay. All right.
This is why I take down notes to circle things back. Oh yeah.
Okay. All right.
So before, do you want to talk about 10-80-10 or do you want me to ask you a question first?
Question's good.
Okay. I've always wanted to know this.
Okay.
What made you get into poker? Because I know you like poker. And I've always just been curious. And is the poker thing a new 5-year thing? Like the last 5 years have you got into poker, or has there always been something like? I'm just kind of curious.
All right. So, thanks for asking. I have, let's see, when I was younger, before Hold'em, I think even Hold'em was pretty popular, getting popular. I was always playing mixed games, we could go all over the place with mixed games, right? Yeah. So many old school mixed games. Would love it. Guys, and
I used to play in a weekly Texas Hold'em game up in Green Pond, New Jersey, literally for about 4 years in a row.
Well, so I would give you an idea. I came into this was more recent, like 4 or 5 years ago, but this is a recap, or it was similar to what I used to do before Hold'em got bigger, before I got into Hold'em. Okay. So I would come into a game and I'd sit down, and all cash games, just cash. And it'd be in the basement of some business, super shady shit, because where I was living at the time, you couldn't, gambling was illegal. And guy goes, okay, or somebody's house, right? So a guy I'd sit down, they're like, it's your deal and it's dealer's choice. And I'm like, okay, and there you go. Well, we're getting a little wild. I said, okay, no problem. I can do wild. Let's do 7-card draw, follow the queen, but if the queen hit, if a queen, threes are, sorry, let me back up real quick. Let's do 7-card draw, threes are wild, but if the queen hits, turns 9s to wild, and we'll do this smallest spade in the hole. Everybody goes,
damn.
Everybody goes, okay. Everybody hands up and we play. So those are the kind of games that I was doing. And bloody guts games and bloody sevens and all sorts of crazy shit, right? So then, of course, Hold'em gets a hold of everybody. And I had a mentor, and I knew the guy from my old marriage, okay? He was a semi-pro, retired guy, just loved the game. And he still loves the game. And he just the math of the game and stuff. I never got into that. Poker to me up until that point was just fucking fun and gambling, right? And it was online at the time. So I would go to his house, and for like 4 hours once a week, he'd put it on his computer. He had a big screen computer, and he'd have a table. We'd get on just a $5 game, right? And he'd say, okay, so you're in this position, and he would just break the fucking game down. And I was like, this is amazing. I really grabbed hold of it. And then he got to a point, and he's like, I can't teach you anymore. Now you have to go out and see billions of hands. Just get out and get experience. So, dude, I got into every Hold'em game I could possibly get. And this is back in 07.
Okay.
And I was going to Vegas a ton because I was in Colorado Springs, and it was a $70 round trip airfare to Vegas. So,
Yeah.
go to Vegas for a couple years, just got my ass kicked, because you're just trying stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And now still love it. My wife and I travel a lot, and she knows the drill that anytime we travel, where we land, I'm finding a poker game. So I've played all over the world at this point.
Yep.
And I love the camaraderie. Like you sit down at a live poker game or even a tournament.
Yep.
Like say in London was fun. We're in London, and my wife's like, I'm going to go to all these tea houses and stuff.
Go
with
have
some
fun, honey.
friends."
I'm going to go play poker.
Yep. And I look at her, she goes, did you I assume you found a game. And I'm like, yeah, I found a game. I go, just text me whenever you're ready. I'll entertain myself. So I end up at this casino in London Square, right in the fucking dead.
I've been to London many times.
It's so much fun, right? So I get into
Is that the one right by the park in the movie theater?
Yep, yeah, absolutely.
I've been to that one. I know exactly where you are.
I can't tell you the fucking name of it.
Nor can I. But it's as a random side note, they still have the stand-up porta potties where you can pee outside as a man. It's amazing.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I know exactly where it is because I've gotten many gin and tonics at the bar right across the street from that casino, and I've been to that casino several times myself.
Okay,
So
cool.
all right.
So I get into it. I look, and they have a tournament going, right? So I get there long before the tournament starts, and this is my MO. So say a casino has an 11 a.m. tournament. I'll get there, sign up for the tournament, get there at like 8:30 in the morning, sit at a cash game, wait for the first blind level to go by. So the tournament starts at 11. Say they're 20-minute blinds. At 11:30, I'll get in the tournament. I always stay away from the first blind level. And then play as long as I can possibly play, and then get back in a cash game. So in London, I do exactly that. I show up. They said, hey, the tournament doesn't start till whatever. No problem. You got a cash game? Yep, get in that. I think I was there for like 11 hours.
Damn.
My wife was like, I knew you were entertained. She goes, I was hanging out with my girlfriends, going to all these tea houses and stuff. We were having a great time. She goes, I knew I didn't have to worry about you. And I'm like, yeah, shit, I'm good. I actually came out ahead of that trip too, so that was good.
And I can relate to you on that. So my older sister, the one who's a forensic psychologist, her husband, my brother-in-law, is just like you, has played poker games all around the world. He learned by reading a bunch of books when my nephew was born. So much so that I brought him to my weekly poker game, and I was like, "Hey, Scott, you want to come play my weekly poker game?" He's like, "Yeah." I'm like, have you played before? He's like, "Yeah, I played a little bit, sure."
He's one of them guys.
Cleans house,
of course.
Cleans house, and I was like, "What the hell?" I get in the car. I'm like, "Scott," I'm like, "Dude, I thought you said you played a little bit." He's like, "Well." Yeah, he's like, I've read 11 books on poker and, taking care, because I'm staying at home, taking care of your nephew. So I play online for about 5 hours a day. And I'm like, oh, damn. So, but he just like, I get where you're coming from because my sister's like, wherever they go, hey, Scott, go find your poker game. I'm going to go do my thing. And they do 2 gambling trips a year.
Oh, nice.
And
nice.
One of the things that me and my sister, we bond over is that we could do a casino trip. Usually once a year, we'll go to a casino, craps, blackjack, whatever. We just have a fun casino trip. So I get where you're coming from on that. So this is why I asked you about the poker thing. Okay.
Okay.
And as someone who used to own a business in Vegas and has played many hands of poker in Vegas,
especially if you got to entertain clients, right?
I always mispronounce his last name, Daniel Negreanu. Is that
Negreanu? I think it's
the Canadian poker player.
Yeah, I know who he is.
Who I've sat at the same table with, and he made fun of the T-shirt I was wearing.
What was your T-shirt?
On the front it said "whoop de whoop," and the back says "what." Because the big joke is like, So with my crew of friends in our 20s, I would make custom made T-shirts for my friends. Like,
Okay,
like
all right.
I like just random stuff. Like I live here, like the owner, like just random stuff. But like when you're in a group of guys at a bar and it's packed, you try to get someone's attention. So it literally all started off with, you go whoop de whoop. People go what? Like, hey, where are my boys at? Whoop de whoop. What? And then from there,
That's a fucking great. So you made a T-shirt from it.
yeah. So whoop de whoop. What? And then the best part is like, because all my friends is ironic. Like here I am, played 3 sports in college, but all my friends are very non-athletic. So I was like, and I am 6'3", 6'4". All my friends are like 5'10" or shorter.
Yeah.
And so I was athletic when I stood out in the crowd. So I'm like, whoop de whoop. And they're like, what? Like, if you know how my last name goes, he goes, Q. Like, oh, there he is. All right, guys, let's go. Who needs what for a drink? So anyway.
Well, real quick
Yeah.
though. So going back to traveling, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have this little ceramic jar that's got a big monster head on it.
Okay.
And my wife and I do surprise dates with one another.
Yeah, you told me about this. Yep.
Yep. So one night, a surprise date was one of those paint and drink or paint and eat.
Yep.
All right. So we go to this place and she picks a bowl and I pick this thing that's got this big mouth, gaping mouth on it. It's kind of like a cartoonish monster, right?
Yep.
So I painted orange is my favorite color. So I painted orange and I put the 4, the club, diamond, heart, spade, on it. And when I travel, anytime I go to somewhere new, I get in a tournament, and what I do is I steal one of the chips,
Yes.
right? So you got to be. They don't like you doing it.
Oh, I know.
Right? They don't-
And I know that.
Okay.
And this is why, for your next gift.
Oh, shit, I got a next gift.
So this
All right.
this is why I asked a poker question. See?
Okay,
I was
all right.
setting you up.
All right,
And by the way,
perfect.
you fed into it perfectly. And I'm like, about the chip, because I know if you travel around the world like my brother-in-law, you're always taking a chip. You're not
Absolutely,
supposed to.
100%,
Exactly.
100%.
So when I go to a lot of marijuana / cannabis / hemp conferences, there are a lot of interesting shot skis, free giveaways.
Of
right?
course.
And it's very, very rare that you could really see something like, hey, this is kind of cool. Like, can I get like an extra one of these?
Yeah,
So, and I know you love for poker and this and that. So it's very tough to find these.
Oh, what do you
but
got? Oh, poker chips. I like poker chips.
I have poker chips. I have 2 cannabis poker chips here, okay?
Oh, gotcha.
You don't get both. You get one.
Oh, let me see.
Okay? So you're going to get to choose one so that everyone says Lucky Chip.
Okay.
All right, we don't say the name of the company. And the other one is just doesn't have anything fun to say on it, but I'll let you pick which one you want. But I saw these, all right?
Protecting your growth.
And they literally were like 1 per person, and you had to sign up this and that. Like they're hoarding these because you can tell like
Oh, that's a
there's just
quality
little weight.
chip.
Yeah, it's
That's
a quality
chip,
chip.
too.
Like it's not like a bullshit chip.
I gotta take this one, dude.
You got it. I've been
I got this
holding
one.
on to that for you for a year and a half. A year
Thanks,
and a half.
brother.
I've been
Look
holding
at
on to that.
So
And so, like, and I will say this, and I get it from my mom. Like, you sometimes be like, "Why do you have that?" I'm like, "Oh, I gotta give this person next time I see them." Like, how long have you had that for? I'm like, "Oh, a little over a year," but I'll see them eventually. I'll give it to
yeah,
them.
eventually you get it.
Yeah.
So circling back, so this is kind of fun. So the 2 things you gave me, the thing about lifting, right?
Yep.
Super cool, and the poker chip. Well, if you look at my hat,
You're the spade. Yep.
spade, and then that's my boy symbol for lifting and just all around being a badass. So now I got both together.
Nice.
That's the whole reason. Well, of course, to support Brian, but and then to have that on a hat, and then in my wedding, the seating cards I had custom playing cards made.
very cool.
So each table had a heart. I'm sorry. 2, 3, 4, 5. That type of thing. What I ended up doing was king down. So we figured out how many tables we had, which
Yep.
was like 5 or something like that. So I went from king down and had, a whole deck of king of hearts, had a whole deck of king of spades, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. So that's where your seating card was, right? The only 2 things we're missing out of everything was ace of spades and the queen of hearts.
Okay.
Because I was the ace of spades
Yep.
and my wife's the queen of hearts,
Hearts.
right? So, it's just kind of fun to.
That's cool, man.
I had to put poker in my wedding somehow, right?
Well, I will say this. Not that I want to be thinking about you while I'm at a cannabis conference, but I'm I'm sitting here. I'm like, is that a poker chip? And then I'm like, I pick it up and I'm like, wait, this is actually like legit. Like this isn't like a cheap shot.
That's a legit chip. Dude.
Yeah, and thanks, I'm like, dude, they only had a handful, and I'm like, hey, and I had to do with my little smoozing and power of my networking skills. I'm like, can I get 2? And they're like, wow. I'm like, listen, I got a guy back in Jersey who would love this. Like,
yeah,
really?
that's awesome.
And
dude.
I'm like, so I've been literally holding on to that for a year and a half.
Well, I remember year and a half. I remember the first time you. Hey, now you fucking lied though.
What?
You said that my gifts had nothing to do with drinking or cannabis. Oh no. I'll correct myself. You said it's not pot or drinking.
Yes.
Sorry, man.
Yes.
Sorry, dude. I gotta correct myself. Dude, look at that. I do have a pretty funny edible story with poker. Right? So, when you're gonna put a whole day into cards, smoking a little bit's not a bad thing, right? Relax you and all that. So we're heading down, me and the boys are heading down to a casino to play all day, and the car at this point looks like right out of Cheech and Chong.
Okay,
so we're pretty toasted already. And he goes, "Hey, it's edible," and I haven't had edibles in 10 years, right? So as you know, they're completely different.
Side note for people listening, I used to own testing labs in the cannabis sector. We used to test it to make sure it's all good and potency, like real FDA of cannabis. But continuing your story now, which means that you probably have no idea what the hell you took probably a while.
Well, the guy I was with, trust him 100%.
Okay.
There's one thing.
Yep.
And so he gives me some chocolate, right? And I had no idea. He's like, try this much. I was like, okay, pop it in. I've learned a lot since then. So we're in the poker table. We're at the poker room, poker table, and I'm feeling good already. And just all of a sudden, dude, I was just like, started fucking drooling. It was nuts. And I was like, holy shit. And the guy across the table goes, man, you're high as fuck. And I go, you think? Dude, I went over to the bathroom and just to fucking relax. And about 15 minutes later, it leveled out. And for like 4 hours, I'm like, no wonder people use these edibles. You know what I mean? I think I just took too much and it hit me pretty fucking hard right at the beginning.
Also depending too what you had to eat. And then on a side note, an old trick, and they actually teach you this. So in cannabis, there's something called caregivers, okay? And there's only a handful of states that have caregivers left. And a caregiver is kind of like a pharmacist that makes custom-made medicine.
Kind of like a sitter when you take acid, they sit with you and make sure you're not going to fuck up? No, not
even close. But to the point where you actually left me speechless there for a second. So I was like, wait, wow.
Anyway,
anywho,
that's what a friend told me one time.
Though I will say this though, I ended up meeting during my travels of cannabis, I ended up meeting the former acid dealer for the Grateful Dead.
Ooh,
he literally toured the country with them.
How fun would that be, talking to that dude for about 20 minutes? And then
I ended up having dinner with him.
Wow.
We ended up going to another
guy or what?
So cool. Honestly, so cool, so down to earth, so laid back. And the other thing is too, I'm part of a group called the Wall Street Dead Ahead group. Okay.
Dead Ahead.
Yep. Wall Street Dead Ahead. It's all these Wall Street big time executives who have a secret love for the Grateful Dead. And what's interesting is that it's really interesting to see, especially when we talk about cannabis more often now and being more mainstream, how many people who are multi-billionaires, millionaires, successful CEOs who use cannabis just to help de-stress them to hear. Yeah. So, yeah. So, but
100%, dude. Exactly. Why wouldn't you? I mean, my dad, so I spent most of half my life literally in Colorado. Mm-hmm. So it was medical out there at the time when I first moved out there. It was medical grade, right? And my dad eventually moved out. My parents did. And he's like, the only reason it's medical grade at this point, so it's not a shocker when they make it legal. Because when their whole plan is to make it legal, but if they just go legal right now, people will be up in arms. But if it's been medical grade for 5, 6, 7, whatever, how many years, it's been medical grade forever. No wonder they made it legal. That was my dad's attitude.
Now, quick fun fact.
And I agree with them.
California got their medical laws in 1996. The state of Maine has had their laws since 1999 for medical, actually.
Is it?
Yeah. So Maine actually just became legal.
I was going to say Maine just became legal,
well,
right?
technically, I'm going to just, in a very broad spectrum, leave it at this, saying that the state of Maine passed legalization in 2016.
Okay.
And it's just going finally legal in the year 2020 because it took long for the rules and regulations. So the one misunderstanding that a lot of people have is that, once it turns legal overnight. No, it could take up to several years.
Yeah, sure. That makes sense.
So much. And what's you mentioned about the Colorado stuff. So I totally forgot where we were going before with the caregiver stuff, but anyway. Anywho. But no, just in general. So the one thing I do want to circle back to, because we did not talk about it.
It's the 10, 80, 10. Dude, I didn't forget. I didn't forget.
All right. So.
All right. 10, 10, or 10.
10, 80, 10. And by the way, I'm happy like your poker chip.
That's awesome, dude. I appreciate it, man.
And by the way, yes, I told you it was nothing. It was not cannabis, and it was not drinking. So
yeah, well, it's. I'm going on 3 years sober.
That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. I still like to smoke a little weed once in a while, but drinking, I haven't.
I think it's awesome myself. For drinking, we talk about moderation.
Right.
It takes 48 hours to get alcohol out of your system. People forget that.
Yeah.
Okay. So we would tell when I had my personal training facilities and all throughout Morris County, we used to tell our personal training clients, listen, you can only drink 2 days a week. We don't care how much you drink, but if it goes past midnight, that counts as your second day. So it really showed people, hey, like, you don't really need that glass of wine at night. You really don't need that beer after work.
Oh, okay.
Like, do you really want to waste that
Yeah, but
day?
that's more of an emotional or mental thing, right? Don't you think at that point?
You know what? It's more of a good way to be self-conscious. That's the way we
drinking,
look at.
You mean?
Yeah, for drinking, yeah. Like, hey, people don't realize sometimes things become routine.
Oh, sure.
And it's sometimes just routine. Hey, you're gonna have a beer after work, and so like, hey, you want to lose weight, you want to get healthier. There's just small little things you could do.
Of course.
And I give you a lot of credit. One of my best friends from college, who I played collegiate lacrosse with, and I mean, the guy had more DUIs than what to do with. Oof. And he's now, I think, let's see him. Now he's been sober for 16 years now.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah, dude, like, awesome guy. So proud of him. He's a firefighter in California now. Got his life together. Like,
that's cool.
I give a lot of credit. When I was in college and I was training in the middle of college, if you can believe this, I went sober for 6 months in college, which it was like, you are crazy. Like, to the point to like, Koenig, man, you're that guy. And by the way, I'll admit this on the air. And this is one of my best drinking stories ever.
Oh,
okay. Is that, let's just say I can hold my booze. All right. Yeah. And I'm a third generation, 100% Lithuanian. You know what that means? That means I can drink hard alcohol, no problem. I can finish a bottle. You give me a 6-pack of beer, I'm like, woo! like my body and beer. Oh, you want to see Dr. David get toasty really quick? Give me a few beers.
Yeah, especially nowadays with all the microbrews.
Oh, tell me about it. So where I'm going with this is that I show up to parties like in a bar about it, like, oh, is that vodka? Dude, is that's full vodka? I'm like, no, it's just water. Like, what? This is you we're talking about now. I still had eligibility my post-grad year. So when I was getting my master's, I was still playing collegiate lacrosse, which is kind of cool.
Yeah. I love lacrosse, dude.
And I was called grandpa on the team for the first few weeks of the season. And some of the freshmen were like, hey, you're the new grandpa, because we had a guy who served in service and he was 29 years old and he was on the team last year. He graduated. Now I'm the old guy. Here I'm getting my master's, and you got freshmen. And so, you go out to the party for the freshmen, and, they have a couple of drinks, and the sophomores and new guys on the team. And this year, the captains, and I don't believe in hazing. Like, the one thing, and even in high school, I don't believe in hazing. I believe in those type of rituals. Like, I actually didn't play lacrosse my first year in college because they wanted to shave my head. And I said, no. I go, literally, like, it's a ritual. I'm like, then I'm not playing. They're like, you're kidding me. I'm like, this doesn't bring a team together.
No.
And so, and literally, they were in shock about that. So anyway, where I'm going with this is that here I am, and this year everyone was going to do a funnel or whatever it is of two cans of beer. Like, they put in like the funnel thing.
Yeah.
Or whatever. So anyway, where I'm going with this is that all the freshmen do the two things. And they're like, come on, grandpa, what are you going to do? Come on, grandpa. And I'm like, guys, rinse it out, get the bottle of Jack. And they're like, excuse me? I'm like, yeah, real men don't funnel beer. They funnel hard alcohol. And they're like, bullshit. And the guys on the team are like, dude, you're going to do the trick? I'm like, yep. I'm going to do the trick, guys. Here we go. So literally they rinse out the funnel. They take a bottle of Jack, pour half a bottle of Jack in there. And they're like, the freshmen, like some of the freshmen are throwing up just from like funneling 2 beers. Like, you're not going to do that. That's iced tea. I'm like, taste it. They're like, oh my God, that's really Jack Daniels. You're really going to funnel Jack Daniels? I'm like, yeah, no big deal. No problem. I'm like, get out the video camera, guys. They get the video camera.
Now, wait a minute. Was it one of those big ones on their shoulder?
Like,
Is this way back in the day, dude?
Like, this is like he's had a little, like almost a mini hand ones,
Yeah.
So what ends up happening is that all the freshmen are like, you're not going to do that. You're not going to do that. And like my 2 good buddies on the team are like, dude, he can do this. Like, don't test him. I'm like, you really? I'm like, you can call me fucking grandpa again? All right, boys. I think you're going to call me master after I do this. Just like, boom. Funnel the whole thing of Jack Daniels. No problem. No problem. See, I the trick is you can do it, but you can't drink anything for like another hour to 2 hours. It's going to hit you like a 2x4 like a half hour later.
Yeah.
But
Wait till that hits the bottom.
I'm like, what's up now, everyone? They're like, oh my God. The next day I practiced, they're like, hey, master. I'm like, that's right. No more fucking grandpa here.
Yeah. You spelled master wrong.
Yeah.
That's awesome. All right. 10.
10-80-10.
All right. And so just to bring it back, 10-80-10 is dating advice from a minister?
Yeah, from a deacon, actually, yes.
Okay, what's the difference between a deacon and a minister?
Different religions, I think. Different churches. Like,
okay, all right.
Like one's Lutheran or like whatever. So
okay.
Anyway.
Deacon.
Yeah. So guy was a patient of mine, and Deacon Mike, great guy, awesome person. And I wish I learned this advice in my 20s. And he told me this in my 30s. I wouldn't.
Yeah, but hindsight, right?
Yeah.
Come on.
So, and he goes, because I was telling him something about, a girlfriend situations and that, and he goes, oh, well, I teach the pre-wedding couples or whatever. He goes, you got to use the 10-80-10 rule. That's the key to a great relationship. I'm like, 10-80-10? I'm like, Deacon Mike, what are you talking about? He's like, David, this is very simple. 10% of the time, it means the world to you. 10% of the time, it means the world to her. 8% of the time, who gives a shit? And I was like, Deacon Mike. I'm like, really? And he goes, yeah. He goes, it's just that simple. He goes, you're going to get in fights. You're going to get in arguments over the dumb minutia.
Yeah.
He goes, but there are just some things you're not going to move on. He goes, and the key to a great relationship is 10-80-10. He goes, because 8% of the time, who the hell cares?
It doesn't matter.
And I was like, oh my God. And he goes, David, here's my favorite story. There was a couple, I got them married and they didn't have kids, but they had a dog. The dog died at like 9 or 10 years old. The wife really wanted another dog. The husband didn't want another dog. Next thing you know, they're coming in 6 months later after the dog dies for marriage counseling because they're at odds. They're going to get a divorce.
Over a dog?
Oh, well, because she wanted a new dog and he didn't.
Okay.
But it was ruining every other aspect of their relationship.
Sure.
So they go in for their wedding counseling. The very first session, Deacon Mike, because they married them, and goes, hey, I'm sorry to hear about this. He goes, do you remember like the 10-80-10 rule and this and that? The wife turns, looks at her husband and goes, getting a new dog is part of my 10%. And he goes, that's all you had to say. Left the fucking marriage counseling, got a dog that afternoon. And he goes... And literally, I use that advice now for all my relationships. 10-80-10. Because I'm like, oh, where do you want to go for dinner? I don't know. Fine, we can pick a place. If you're getting mad, I'm like, really? Does it really make that big of a difference?
No, I agree with you on that. I mean, I have my wife and I call it different things, but it's the same damn thing, dude.
Yeah.
Right? No, dude. Why do we got to fight over that?
Yeah. And I see things and this goes back to like we were talking about a little bit about moderation and just conversations and like storytelling,
right?
Like something I use in dating, something that I use in business, something I use in my everyday life. If it takes more than 3 emails or more than 3 text messages, pick up the damn phone and call.
100%, dude. 100%.
Like people ask me all the time, like
100%.
Like, hey, like how are you good at your networking? And how I'm like, because I use a lost art of communication, and as a guy, who's in his 40s, not married, no kids. It's amazing how many women are afraid to get on the phone and talk to someone.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And I sit here and I go, why are we texting so much? I'm like, you know what? They're like, what? And I had a relationship. It ended sourly. I actually call her cheating on me on Christmas Day while delivering the Christmas gifts. That was...
Whoa. Oh, shit.
Yeah,
wait a minute. Hold on. You can't be just leaving that hanging out there.
Oh, you want to do it better? Because you actually know who... I can tell you the person's house. You don't know who the person was. Whose house I was at before it happened. Because you know that these people...
All right, we'll talk about that off there.
Yeah, so,
I want to hear that story.
Yeah, because
but
I went there for Christmas, left there for Christmas to go to her place, and that's what happened.
wait, hold on. I got a fucking. Oh my god! I just thought of the story. I can talk about this one on the air. So back in the day, it was a whole other life for me. I was in different circles and doing different things, right? So I'm dating this girl. And I had an idea she was cheating on me, right? So I had a key to her place and she had a key to mine and all that, but I just had a feeling that. So one morning, I go over to her place. I open the door, walk in, and it's kind of set up like your place here. You know, you see the kitchen first.
Yep.
Right? Here's this dude at the fucking stove cooking. Mm-hmm. And it's like 8 o'clock in the morning. So I just stood, and his back was to me. So he didn't hear me come in or anything like that. So I come around the corner, and my girlfriend at the time comes out of the shower, sees me. We start talking, no yelling or nothing. This guy comes over, gets between us, and facing me is like, is there a problem? I said, no fucking problem here, dude. I'm out of here. I see where it's going. It's all good, you know. And it escalated, right? So I'm backing up to the door because I'm going to get the fuck out. And I'm not turning my back on this guy. Again, whole different life. I get to the door. Now she's between him and I with her back to me, telling him, you need to back up. We're good. Don't escalate this. And he's trying to be a tough guy and all that, right? Mm-hmm. So I get outside the door. She slams the door, right? I'm good. He says something, and I kick the fucking door, and not the bottom, but not in the middle, kind of a third the way up, maybe. Mm-hmm. Dude, I about shit myself. The fucking door falls into the apartment out of the frame. And I'm not trying to be all big and fucking badass, dude. I did not hit it that fucking hard,
By
dude.
the way, that's still an epic moment, though.
It's super epic moment.
Like,
super fucking epic.
You ever kicked down a door? Moment. Fuck yeah, I've kicked down a door.
Yeah.
Let me tell you that story.
Oh my God, dude. And it had nothing to do with me. It was 100% poor construction. But anyway, needless to say, the fucking door falls in, right? Inside, I'm like, what the fuck? Holy shit. Outside, I hold up my arms. I go, you coming out? I go, I'll give you the same opportunity I give everybody else. Get out of here. Yeah. So I leave. A couple days later, I get a text from her, say, hey, I got a bunch of stuff at the house of yours. Can you come and get it? Yeah, no problem. No problem. So I get there. I said, I'm not coming in. I'll be at the door. So the door's fixed. You can tell it's new construction. The door's fixed. She gives me some stuff that I had, and she goes, what did you mean by the same opportunity you give everybody else? And it's a fucking movie line, dude. I was going to pull a movie line on him. If he asked, he never asked, so I didn't use it. But they lived on a third floor, kind of like your place here, right?
Yep.
But the hallway is open to the outside.
Yeah, my hallway looks like it's shining.
Yeah. But imagine you going out your door, and you could go to the end, and it'd be like your balcony, right? It was out to the open. I go, I would have dragged him to the end, thrown him over the balcony, and if he proved to me he could fly, I wouldn't go down and kick the shit out of him. Right? And it's out of some movie. I totally stole it from a movie. And she goes, you would have done that? And I'm like, yeah. But to end the story, I'm in my apartment, just chilling. I had another girl with me. And all of a sudden, there's this authoritative knocking on my door. Like fucking, I'm like, okay, that's a cop. Just the way it knocked, that's a cop. The girl I was with looks out. She goes, there's a state trooper car in the driveway. Okay, whatever. Again, that was not unusual at the time. Open the door. This fucking guy, when I say darken my doorway, there was no light coming in. Dude was big. And we're big guys, right? But this guy was like, holy shit. He goes, you Mr. Blau? Yes, sir? He goes, whew, gives me a piece of paper, $437 or something to fix the
Yeah,
door
no,
that
yeah.
happened, right? He goes, can you pay for this? Yes, sir. Be right back. Give him a check. He's like, leans in. He goes, it's not going to bounce, is it? Because I don't want to come back here. I'm like, no, you're good, bro. He's like, have a good day, sir. Thanks for being cooperative. Yes, sir. I was like, what the fuck?
So you've referenced my apartment a few times, and let's talk about the girl who stole my apartment key and then broke into my apartment.
Oh, wait a minute.
Different girl.
Wait a minute, though. We got to give a little context here. Your apartment number is 420.
Yes.
I'm just, how, and it's not by, you didn't do that. It's 100% coincidence.
So I was actually dating a girl, and this place where I'm at, brand new construction, first people. I thought you want to be in the first floor. She's like, no, we want to be as high as possible. We couldn't get the fifth floor, so we got this one. Happens to be 420, even before I got into the cannabis industry.
Yeah.
And still to this day, when I go to cannabis events and be like, hey, I'm going to mail you like a magazine or stuff like that,
Oh,
I'm
shit,
like,
you give me your
I give
address?
my because I have my office address, but for like other things like magazines, I'm like apartment 420 to like, is this a joke? And I still remember before I had my my new business address, I was getting checks sent here, and I had this client from Massachusetts, and they're like, is your apartment number really 420? Or are you fucking with me right now? I'm like, dude, it's on my checkbook. I'm not lying. They're like, you're in cannabis and your apartment number's 420. You did that on purpose. I'm like, I've actually had this industry. I've actually been in my apartment longer than I've been in the industry. They're like, yeah, but you've been in the industry since like 2010. I'm like, I moved into my apartment in 2009.
Dude, I didn't even put it all together until I was outside your door, and I was like, what? Wait a minute, I got to ask him about that.
Oh, everyone, like people think it's a joke. And I'm like, nope.
No, that's awesome.
And then what's funny, my P.O. box for my my office address is 111. And they're like, what are you, number one? Because you're Dr. David? Wait, is that why I got the P.O. box? You have to be number one? And it's telling me number one? I'm like, well, my apartment number at home is 420. My P.O. box is 111. I'm like, I guess so. It just got it worked out that way.
Hey, I go along with it, man. I don't question the universe. So a girl stole your key?
Yeah, so true story. We're right by my door. Everything here, you don't have keys. Everything's like a key fob to get in and everything.
Yeah.
And so dating this girl from Detroit, and long story short, we go away and we go surfing. And I told her point blank, the first rule of surfing is when you fall off the board, cover your head because you can get a concussion.
Yeah.
She falls off the board at the second time. What happened? She gets hit to the head. She didn't think it was a concussion. Ends up being a concussion.
Okay.
We come back from the trip. The doctor's like, listen, you're sick. You just need to rest. Like literally just rest, relax, like shut off your phone. Like, and the doctor's like, hey, just let her be for the next couple of days. Sure, no problem. All right. I'm supposed to go golfing. I'm supposed to leave for golf. This is on a Friday morning, and I'm supposed to get up at 7:45 a.m. And behind that door, when I showed you all my rooms, I'm dead asleep. Next thing you know, at 6:15 in the morning, I get woken up with that bedroom door being slammed open saying, you can't fucking talk to me for 2 goddamn days. We're done. We are over here. Take your shit. I'm like, what the? Like literally a nightmare. And I'm like, wait, how the fuck did you get in? She's like, well, I stole your key because I saw it hanging. I'm like, what? I'm like, when did you do that? She's like, I stole it a couple of months ago. And I'm like,
holy shit.
I was like, psycho. Psycho. And literally I had nightmares for a good few months every so often.
And anytime a knock would happen,
like literally I don't know if you noticed when you came to the front door, I had the deadbolt on.
Oh yeah.
Because people are like, why? It's the middle of the day. I'm like, dude, when someone does that to
chick.
you, that will freak you out.
Well, with her being that psycho, the sex must have been great. Because you know the old saying, right?
No, that one, no.
No, not that one?
No,
Okay.
no, that one, no.
All right.
And as someone who has many friends one, having business in Vegas, and the one thing I will say is I have a lot of friends who own strip clubs.
Peeler bar.
And Peeler bar?
Call them a peeler bar.
Well,
Growing up here, peeler bar.
what's that?
Strip club.
Oh, why would you call it a Peeler
I don't
bar?
know. That's what we called it growing up. I throw people off all the time.
Okay,
about that.
because I always tell people this all the time, and I tell every one of my girlfriends, one of the best places to watch a game.
Peeler bar.
Yeah, is that
Absolutely, hands down.
And literally, what's interesting is that I did this one girl who was from LA for a little bit, and she's like, "Yeah, I agree with you 110%." She goes, "I think strip clubs are the best places to bring clients and get business done." I go, "I'll do you one better." And this will be the first time I admit this on air, actually. All right.
All right,
So
all right.
I won't say which friend for privacy reasons, but very good friend of mine. Majority of all my major business decisions have been made with him and I both with legal pads at a strip club, writing business notes, going over a major
100%,
business.
dude.
And people sit here and they go, really? I go, guys, and I tell women the following, okay, is this, I go, think about this. I go, I want to go to the game. I want to watch the game at a bar. Tell me where I can find a seat better, at a strip club or at a bar. Well, I can usually find a seat at a strip club, not always at a bar. Okay.
100%.
When there's a commercial on and I don't want to pay attention, I now have live entertainment.
Right.
And I go, and here comes a third factor, which many people don't realize. Some of the best food you'll get
Is a strip club.
Yeah. Like, and people are like, you gotta be kidding me.
Well, see, the thing is, though, there's a disclaimer going. You gotta put a disclaimer in this. You gotta remember the quality of Peeler Bar you're going to.
Oh, I fully concur.
Okay.
I fully concur.
I
It's
just
like,
have to make sure
yeah,
people are like, because it's not the fucking something room in the middle of some town in middle of Jersey. No, we're talking high end Peeler Bar in Vegas or a big city, right?
Yeah, I mean, like here,
can't
here's
go to some dank-
here's another great example. There's a in Teterboro, New Jersey. My one buddy now owns that Peeler Bar, but he put in a gourmet kitchen and got a top-notch chef. And because he has great contacts, he gets like a tomahawk steak at most steakhouses will cost you $95.
Right.
Tomahawk steak there, $55, and you get a side.
Yeah. What
And
kind of side? Oh, no.
Well, broccoli or like.
Okay, I was just trying to check on that.
Yeah, but like people don't realize that, and I joke around all the time, and it's interesting because this one girl I was dating in the city. We went out for drinks to actually Cafe Wah, which is where Jimi Hendrix got a start.
Okay, no, don't know that, but I do now.
By the way, they do.
Yeah.
I would totally recommend anyone going there because they always do a Jimi Hendrix cover set towards the end. And it's totally
that's
awesome,
cool.
and they pack everyone in. I mean, it is awesome, high energy. It was totally worth it. Like,
Yeah, okay,
totally
cool.
So then she's like, "Hey, you want to go to a burlesque show?" I was like, "Sure." She's like, "Did you say yes?" I'm like, "Yeah, this
Yeah,
ain't my
why
first
not?
rodeo."
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah," and so we do a burlesque show. She's like, "You know, I've always wanted to go to this one strip club here in the city." I'm like, "All right, let's go." She's like, "Really?" I go, "Hold on though." I go, "Give me all your money." She goes, "Why?"
Oh, yeah,
I go,
yeah.
"Just trust me." I go, "I used to bounce. I know how everything works." She's like, "Well, I got like $150 cash on me." I'm like, "How much money do you want to spend tonight?" She's like, "Well, you've been so good. I'll give you my credit card. I'll pay for all the drinks there. Just take my cash." And I'm like, "All right, you trust me?" She's like, "Sure." I'm like, "All right, can I spend at least $75 on it? $75 of money?" She's like, "Sure." She goes, "Why?" I go, "Just trust me."
Yeah.
We walk in. Within 15 minutes, she's like, "David, you're the fucking mayor of this strip club. What the hell just happened?" I'm like, "Well, I called in a favor, see if that bouncer knew another bouncer who I knew. I had to pay off the door guy. I had to pay off that guy over here. I had to pay off the bathroom attendant. I had to take care of the top VIP hostess real quick, tip
that's-
everyone out."
yeah, but she-
and she's like, "Everyone's catering to us now." I'm like, "I know, because you got to take care of people."
Yeah. Well, shit, dude. Back in the day when I was doing all that was SOP. I mean, it still is nowadays, right? I mean, but I'm not in that world anymore.
No, it doesn't
right?
get you. It doesn't get you where as much as it used to. Like,
Right.
I mean, heck, when I first had my business in Vegas, I mean, I remember partying with Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie, which, by the way, Paris Hilton looks identical in real life. to
Oh,
what
that's
she does.
cool. That's cool to know.
And she's cool. Like, she was late. Nicole Richie, not so much, but Paris Hilton was super nice. Like, cool. She's like, "Hey, you want to come hang out with us?" On a separate side note, one time there was a Dennis Rodman and who's the guy he used to be part of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, Dave Navarro.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So Dave Navarro, and it was at the Hard Rock Casino, and my buddies are like, "Dude, we
Love
can't
that
get
place.
in." Yeah, same here. Love that place
Love
too.
that place.
And he's like, "We can't get in." I'm like, "Dude," guys, just give me like $200. I'm like, "I'll take care of it." They're like, "What do you mean?" I'm like, "I'm wearing all black. I look like a fucking bouncer." I'm like, "Let me just talk shop." So what's cool is that we get into we finally get into the club, and I finagle us to get bottle service, and I finagle us where we only have to order one bottle because bottle service is expensive now. You only have to order one, and so what's interesting is that you're in a booth. And next thing you know, like, one of those higher booths, like, someone's sitting on top of it. So literally someone's ass cheeks are hanging over, hitting me in the back of the head. I'm like, dude, I want some guy's fucking ass cheeks. Like,
Yeah, sure.
So I get up, go to the table next to us. Well, there's Dennis Rodman, Dave Navarro, some other people. And I'm like, fuck, all right. And I go back to the table. I'm like, guys, I don't want to be a dick, but I'm like, this is a booth for like 6 people and they got like 11 deep, like people sitting on top. I'm like fucking up our space and everything. It's like, don't say anything. I'm like, fuck it. I'm like, we paid our hard-earned money. Why not?
Yeah,
I'm
why
like,
not?
I go, I was always taught, no difference between a professional athlete and myself. We're both the same people.
Oh, 100%.
Like,
100%.
and famous people too. Like,
Yep.
So I go over, I'm like, hey man, I'm like, I don't want to be rude. I'm like, but your buddy's ass cheeks like hitting me in the back of the head, this and that. I got to admit, man, Dennis Rodman was cool as hell. He's like,
oh, no shit, huh?
He's like, hey man, he's like, we're just partying, having fun. Where are you? I'm like, dude, I'm on the table right here, man. I'm like, I'm not trying to be a jerk, man. I'm like, we're trying to also talk to some girls here. And he's like, you want a bottle of champagne? I was like, sure. He's like, great, take this one. You know what? He goes, I'll call the waitress, have one over. He's like, sorry about that. If you guys need anything else, just let me know. I'm like, what? He's like, yeah, man. He's like, we're just here to party, have fun. You're here to party. Let's just party together. I'm like, all right, man, you got it.
Yeah, that's fun, dude.
Yeah, like me, like this real life, hey, like just being nice about it and stuff like
well,
that.
no, what I found in my security days, I doing a lot of celebrities and CEOs and all that shit, and they just want to be treated like anybody else.
Yeah.
That's it. They're so used to being pampered too. Some of them took it a whole other level, but we're going to get into that. But one person still stands out to me to this day that is, well, back then, the pictures, she was absolutely gorgeous compared to her pictures in person. Like, usually you see pictures and you're like, whoa, and you see them, they're like, okay, I can see it.
Yeah.
Jennifer Nettles.
Okay. Yep.
From
she was in Party of Five, wasn't she?
Oh, fuck. I can't remember the band that she. It was her, a guitar player, and like a heavier set woman. It was country music. Oh, Jesus Christ! Now I'm drawing a blank. But anyway, unbelievable, right? So what we would do is we'd bring them in. So the everything was set up. They come in. The band, everybody was in there except her. She comes in the sundress, in this bandana, and they're like, we need to do a sound check. So we bring her in, and she just does the scales. That was it. That was the sound check. Dude, I got goosebumps now thinking about it.
Wow.
I was like, holy fuck. Whoa. Totally just emotionally just moved me 100%. Just doing the scales, not even singing.
Wow.
And I was like, and unbelievably polite, very,
Oh, yeah.
So, in the way it was set up, we ran it for a minute. We got like a 4-hour break, and then we come back. So I come back, relieve the guy. Now, the way the bar was set up, the karaoke room was where we put the talent, right? So the guy that was watching the door to the karaoke room, I come and relieve him. I said, I got it for the rest of the night. And you leave him alone, but you just watch the door, right? The music for the club is piped into the karaoke room, right? So the karaoke room's full of windows, obviously. So I can see the club and all that, and I see everybody out there dancing and doing all that shit, and I hear the music but it's not as loud in the karaoke, but you can hear it. She's singing along to the music, whatever song was on. Holy fuck, dude! Just incredibly talented, just unbelievable. It was awesome. So then my job is to get her to the stage, right? So my partner and I, Doug, fucking guy, we get her to the stage, and I got the flashlight to the stairs going up, right? Classic stuff. So she's standing right in front of me, like I can smell her perfume, right? And she gives me a wink, goes up on the stage, and she's got a t-shirt, a white t-shirt on, and bib overalls, and that's her outfit for the night. Smoking fucking hot. So I do my flashlight, I watch her get up on the thing, and I'm just sitting there, and my buddy knocks me in the shoulder and like hands me a fucking rag. And I'm like, what? And he goes, you're drooling, dude. I'm like, I go, do you fucking see that? He's like, I'm right here, dude. I see it. But super polite, and I got 1,000 of those stories.
Oh, yeah.
And there's some of those people that are talent like that. Complete fucking assholes.
Oh.
Complete assholes.
Oh,
right?
I hear you on that. Oh, yeah.
And we could go all and on about that, but that would just, man, you just sparked me with that one. Man, I ain't told that story in forever.
Well, it's funny you're telling me that story, and like I always tell people also too, like never judge a book by its covers and that.
Sugarland.
Oh, Sugarland. Okay.
Sugarland. That's the name of the
Okay,
band.
nice.
I knew.
Answer
I'd remember.
solved. Yes, circle gets the square.
Yeah.
Is that
And I'll take rock music for 100.
I met this girl named Morgan, and Morgan's her real name, and I didn't realize that she was a porn star.
Nice. Teach me what you've learned. Come on, man.
So what's interesting is that I met her in Vegas, and we actually met at a networking event. Because you talk about networking, you doing like the poker stuff. Like one thing I do is I try, by having businesses and clients in literally over 20 plus states, when I go visit them, I always try to go to a networking event, whether Chamber of Commerce or like business networking. I try to go check out a networking event in that town or that area just to check it out.
Sure.
So I met her at a networking event, and here we are. We're walking on the strip, nothing big. Next thing you know, I won't say her last name because it'll give it away. And people are like, Morgan, oh my God, can I get an autograph? I'm like, what the? Then it happens another 45 minutes later. Then we're at a bar. Three more people coming up.
Like,
Then two guys come up and they're like, dude, how'd you score her, man? Like, dude, like, how much is this costing you? And I'm like, costing me? I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah.
And these two guys came up and asked me about cost, and she went to the bathroom. She comes back. I'm like, Morgan. I'm like,
what?
Two random dudes came up, and I'm like, listen. I go, I don't care what people do with their body. It's your own freaking choice. Doesn't bother me either way. And I'm like, but these guys are asking me how much I'm paying to hang out with you right now. I'm like, Morgan. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? She's like, well, guess the cat's out of the bag. I don't want you to judge me, but like, I've been in the porn industry for almost like 10 years. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And she's like,
big fucking deal.
She's like,
good for you.
She's like, you're not worried? I'm like, no. I'm like, what contacts do you have? What kind of business can we do together? And she's like, really? And literally, and I kid you not, I've actually had disagreements with this sometimes with girlfriends, because I'll be first to admit I do dating apps, no big deal, and I get so much business from dating apps. Because,
that's awesome.
Because
I've never thought of that.
I am a communicator, and I'm also simple. Like I have two older sisters. All right, I have an older brother. One of my older sisters was an attempted rape victim. So when I was, and after that happened, I was and I was only 9 years old at the time, so I didn't really compromise. But I was the first person she saw after it happened.
Oh, okay.
So always been taught respect. I went to a college. I was 85% female. Like,
like
it's really,
Yeah.
So anyway, shit, I lost my train of thought for a second. I totally forgot where I was going with that for a second. Damn.
But I can see. No, so let me see if I get this right. Business dating apps.
Hold on.
I want to see if I get this right.
All right.
So it doesn't work dating, but you end up knowing contacts and doing it that way, and ended up on a business level.
Well, yeah. So here's the reason why. One, and here's where I was going with this. As my dad told us, this is how he taught me Bird and the Bees. Boys, actually, this is the exact way my parents explained the words of the bees. We're at the dinner table, and my mom goes, Jackie, did you hear about so-and-so who got genital warts? I'm like, what? And then my dad's like, no. And my mom's like, yeah, did you hear this other person who got chlamydia? Then I'm like, oh. And my dad's like, boys, what your mom's trying to tell you is keep your dick in your pants. and literally,
that was it. Huh?
Yeah. So literally, so I joke around. I'm very honest. I'm like, listen, I'm like, I go, it's the exact opposite. I'm like, I don't want to get in your pants. You have to earn the right to get in my pants. Oh. And also too, when I was the CEO of a public trade company, I would have some women date me just for my contacts and get jobs.
Yeah.
And so I really had to start to judge where I'm like, okay, like especially the power of the internet getting bigger and bigger, I'm like, I gotta be really careful what I do.
Yeah.
So for dating apps, what's funny is that I won't meet up with you for a drink or dinner until we talk on the phone at least once or twice.
Sure.
And if you don't want to talk on the phone with me, I don't want to ever go out with you. And people say, why? I go, because one, looks fade over time, but personality lasts forever. And you can be the most beautiful person in the world, but if I can't have a regular conversation with you, on the phone, this is never going to work out. All right. And plus, it's called space spade. When you get off the phone with someone, you're like, oh my God, I can't wait to talk to that person again. And you're like, ugh.
Or you go, fuck, I'm glad that conversation's over.
So with that being said, you have a few conversations with people.
Yep.
And, the girl who I found cheating on me on Christmas was interesting. Our schedules were so opposite. We spent 6 weeks just doing FaceTime, video chats, and just talking with one another because our schedules were so opposite and we were traveling so much. But where I'm going with this is the dating apps is that, hey, what do you do? What kind of work do you do? You start talking. And then, the one big thing is that I always tell someone, if you're going to, be intimate with someone, make sure you want to be intimate with that someone. You know, because when you're in with someone, there's always consequences. And people don't
Of
forget.
course. Yeah, no, of course.
So literally, if you don't think you're gonna get to that level, but like, hey, you know what? We're not gonna go there, but we can still do business together.
Oh, 100%.
And-
Yeah,
and-
100%.
And literally, it's amazing because my last girlfriend, she's like, every girl you know almost, you went on a date or two with.
Why
And I
not?
was like, yeah. I was like, to be very honest, I'm a friend with a lot of my exes, and I'm like, I do a shitload
Yeah.
of business.
Well, that's-
and
well,
people
that's-
laugh about the dating apps because the dating apps, you're right. That's what you literally hit the nail on the head. You get to talking, this and that. Hey, maybe this isn't a good fit, but we can still do business together.
No, absolutely. And,
Yeah.
and what it is, my thought on that is you're checking your ego.
Yeah.
You fuck this guy. He didn't want to go on a date with me. Fucking him out. No, dude. No, that's okay. That didn't work.
Yeah.
Next, you know. Yeah, that's fucking fun, dude.
Oh yeah.
Damn, dude. We caught up with a lot of shit.
We did. We
We
did.
got to shut this thing down.
Yes, we do.
You got anything else?
Yeah, you know what? Just because we're talking about dating and we're talking about different people, it's and this is odd. I find this extremely odd, but maybe I've been blessed. So I've actually been out on dates with Jessica Biel, stunt double, as
Oh,
well
wow. How could
as
you
well
can't
as
get much closer than that?
as well as Jennifer Gardner's.
Jennifer Gardner.
Well, no,
She
not
was-
Jennifer Gardner. Jennifer, the one who used to be married to Ben Affleck.
Beal?
No,
Jennifer.
Yeah, I thought her last name was it Gardner or no?
Yeah, it's Gardner. Yeah, yeah,
She's
I think
on
so.
all the Capital One commercials.
Yeah, Jennifer Gardner.
Yeah.
yeah.
I also went out with-
I've had a crush on her forever.
I went out with her stunt double as well too. Her stunt double for like the last 9 years. So
That is fucking funny,
to
dude.
to the point where when I was going out with Jessica Biel's stunt double, I was like, hey, I'm like, I know the stunt double community is kind of small. I'm like, do you know this other person? She's like, oh, I know who she is, but I've never met her. I'm like, she goes, why? I'm like, oh, we dated for a little bit. And I just want to share this with you because I think it's really, really odd that I've had the opportunity in my life not to date one, but two stunt doubles of very
Of super
famous
hot
actresses. And I'm like, I truly am blessed. And then we talked about the porn star and the business people, like and like we still do business stuff.
Yeah, but you build your life. You build your life,
Yeah.
dude.
Exactly.
100%. Like you saying that stuff, and people talk to me about my life, and they're like, "Must be nice." No, dude, I've made this.
Yeah.
It didn't fall in my lap. I built it, and I
Yeah.
build it every day. And the
it's-
actions that I
exactly.
take put me in those situations.
Yep.
You know, check your fucking ego, dude. Just go in the don't say no.
Exactly.
It's like improv. You always say yes.
And I think a great way to maybe cap this off and to maybe make this full circle is the one thing you and I have talked about this entire time is life experiences. And you know, getting out of your comfort zone, experiencing different things as well too. And I think it's really cool what we've talked about today is that we've talked about a lot of unique life experiences.
Oh, 100%.
And that's what life is about. And then just sharing those experiences. So thank you for the opportunity, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, and thanks for the poker chip and the weight.
Yeah, you're welcome, man.
I appreciate it, man.
Definitely.
All right, buddy. Thanks for listening. And did you know that TIPS was an acronym? That was news to me, and that's kind of fun to find out. Dave and I always have a great time and see what he's got going on. Links are in the show notes. And don't forget, liverishi.com got some swag and a product giveaway. They got some high quality CBD stuff. Check it out. Use the code word table. Let them know I sent you. And don't forget also, would love your support, YouTube, Walt's Kitchen Table, and leave a review on whatever platform that you listen to. And you want to see a lot more what's going on and more details, find out everything you need to know at waltskitchentable.com. Got a new website up. It's all updated. Check it out. Until next time, much love.